I want to simplify the team aspect for everybody, okay? Doesn't matter what sport you like, basketball, baseball, hockey, whatever you like. You're building a team, right? So basketball, you want to put the best players on the floor. You want to have depth. You want your roster to be deep with talent. You want your starting five to be competitive and the best starting five possible.
On this final episode in our 3-part series on why startups fail, Sam, Salah, Travis Revelle, and I bring it home, talking about the people piece, how the right people on our team, whether they're stakeholders in any capacity, are there to help us to thrive. Listen in, lean in. I can't wait for you to join us. I'm Dr. Nate Salah. This is a call to leadership.
See people come in entrepreneurship maybe late in life, you know. I think your best, we all come in at different times, but I believe when you have the very least to lose is the best time.
Yeah.
You know, early 20s, mid 20s, you fail, maybe you're eating bologna sandwiches all month. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean?
Aldi.
Yeah.
It was 25 cents for a loaf of bread, and seriously.
Yeah. So that's why I always go back to, when people come to me and they're like, I'm thinking about doing this, I get that phone call, and usually it's like, hey man, can you meet me for coffee on Wednesday? It's like, yeah, I kind of see where this is going. Yeah. And then it's like, well, I'm thinking about leaving my job and doing this. And I'm like, okay. I'm like, can you live, what is the bare minimum you can live off of, when you do this? And, I can't live off less than $100,000 a year. I'm like, two options.
Right. We know where this conversation is
going. Yeah. Option A, you don't do it.
Yeah.
Okay. Option B, you get an investor. Actually, there's three. There's probably three, but get divorced, which is not recommended.
Right.
I don't recommend that. It's more expensive.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, that's because again, it goes back to the perception of owning a business is time and money. And it's not for the majority of people, and it's not for a significant amount of time for most people. And then, you see the crypto overnight millionaires, and now they're right back to square one too. So, so it's like, it's the fast money is usually not a real thing.
Fast in, fast out.
Fast in, fast out, So, I think we did a podcast on it, don't think opening a business is just going to be this like, hitting the lottery. It could. I mean, we all get in a business to make money. I mean, that's the idea, but is it
rare.
Likely? No.
It's rare to be
likely.
It's no different than going to the gas station and buying a lottery ticket.
100%.
Right? I mean, you have to get into entrepreneurship. If you're going to be an entrepreneur, I don't want to say it's something you're born with, but I think it's a genetic thing that's driving you, right? And it can't be just about money. It can't be, because you're going to struggle before you're successful. I don't know a single business owner who just stepped up to the plate, hit a grand slam first at bat.
Nope.
You know what I mean? Like, I don't know a single one. And I know a lot of people who are super successful, right? Like super successful, but nobody stepped up to the plate and just hit a grand slam. It took them years.
Yeah.
It
takes time and having the right focus, because people do think, well, this is going to be something that is going to help me financially, and I'll be able to be. Maybe they see other entrepreneurs who have stuff, right?
They see the results.
They see the results.
See the final.
Exactly.
Chapter.
And
they don't see the work.
They don't. Yeah, a lot of times. And so they want to circumvent the work, the reward for the work. It's not always the case, but just back to that example of the car stuff. Look, reinvest in the business, create the models and the plans, and then let that equity increase your return on your investment, then fund the life you want, right? Don't take it out of the cash flow necessary. So allow that. This is an interesting question to ask your kids. Ask them, if you had $1 million today, what would you do with it? Ask the question. It's an interesting question to ask the kids. I'd like to get the answer. Yeah. And actually I want to get your answers on the next recording of what your kids said, right? And I'll tell you what happened in my family as well. Because we had I had my son and the nieces over once, and the nieces said, well, Uncle Nate, if I had $1 million, one of the nieces said I would go out and buy tons and tons of clothes or whatnot. The other one said I would buy, this was very internal, right? It was, she wanted to hook herself up. The other one was a little bit more, generous, said I would buy houses for all my loved ones, right? And then I'd go out and get my nails done and do all this other stuff, right? And then when I got to Abram, he said, Dad, I would not spend a dime. I would invest every penny.
Yeah.
Cool.
Every penny. And then when the businesses made money, I would then use that money to get the stuff I wanted.
There's the future Warren Buffett right there, man.
Yeah.
And it's, and I'm not, that's not an ode to Dad, but he's heard Dad talk about the mistakes.
It's 100% an ode to Dad. No, it's 100% an ode to Dad. Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what I mean, though.
Yeah. You taught him.
I taught him from the foibles I made, because early on, the very first thing I did in my check cashing booth, as soon as I had some cash flow, look, I was almost out of cash. I was borrowing, every credit card was maxed out, and I had a Corvette, I had a BMW, I had a motorcycle. I was on the weekends, I was buying the drinks because I was in love with the idea.
Yeah.
And I didn't have the discipline or the tenacity, and I was right there in this 38%. It's real.
Yeah, it's real.
Yeah.
It's real. And it doesn't ever go away either.
That is 100%. It doesn't. It doesn't matter how big you are.
No.
We just talked about this a few episodes ago, right? Just when we were talking about Elon Musk complaining about the $4 million a day that Twitter was losing. And then I was like, well, what about Disney's $10 million that nobody's talking about, right?
I remember, right, 2008 financial crisis. And I don't remember which company, but it was, I think it was Walmart, a couple other companies. They didn't know how they were going to pay payroll because they always got lines that they were paying off of. And I remember just like people, right? Like just your normal average everyday person was like, I don't understand this. It's a multi-billion-dollar company. How do they not have cash on hand? And it's like, no, you don't understand business, right? Like, I mean, like
they finance their receivables. They
finance everything, So whether you think the company is super successful, you never will. Like you said, you'll never have too much money.
No,
ever. There's no such thing as too much money, right? And you're always going to have to be raising new capital. You either raise it off of your sales, right? Cut costs. I mean, or you go out there and you find an external source of income to be able to grow. And it's just what you said, Nate. How do you want to be it? Do you want to be an organic company that's growing slowly, or right, like you've got a short window to hit a specific market, and you're on the front end of it. You have to have cash to feed the growth of the business.
Right. Yeah, man. I mean, our business, right?
I mean, how much do you finance a month?
A lot.
Yeah.
I mean, $1 million probably. Yeah. I mean, I remember when I couldn't finance, $25,000.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's crazy.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
But it's humbling, isn't it? At the same time, to remember there were times when you're like, where am I going to get cash?
No, I do. I remind myself.
Yeah.
I remind myself because you have the attitude and the dedication to not accept failure. And I had that. And I feel wholeheartedly. I will tell you right now, the Sam at 25 and 26 was a beast. Like you wouldn't want nothing to do with him. Like he was laser focused and knew where he was going, right? It's different in your second act because it's like, you don't, hopefully if you did the right things, you don't have the same pressures and the same needs, right? But it's cool, because many don't know that me and you are working together and we have a business together. Mm-hmm. We're in hyper growth mode, but we're approaching it with this like
surgical.
Right. It's like we have experience. Mm-hmm. We've been here. We understand where we're at. We understand where we're going. So it's like we get another opportunity to approach, an exciting, fast-paced, growing organization, but you have all the tools and all the, the knowledge. People always say, I wish I knew then what I know now.
Yeah.
I have that right now.
Yeah.
we have that right now.
Mm-hmm. But you know what? It's still a challenge.
And it's still a challenge.
It's still a challenge. Like, I mean, it's still a challenge. And we know how to do it the right way. We've done it multiple times. But, you know, the thing this time around, because there's always different challenges each time you do it, right? This time, recruiting people
is the business.
Is the business. I mean, it, you know, used to be, right? You know, 10 years ago, if you were doing this, finding people was the easy part.
Sales, make more sales.
Sales was the hard part.
More opportunities.
More opportunities, right? Now it's finding people and you know, qualified people and people you want to represent your business. You know what I mean? Like that's the biggest challenge. And so each time you go through, you know, a life cycle of a business, right? The ups and the downs and the ups and the downs, you know more, but there's going to be different challenges that are sitting there. And so you're going to have to use that knowledge that you have to look at it and decide, right, how are we going to do this? I think one thing that you and I are doing differently this time is, you know, previously we would have taken as much as anybody would have given us.
Yeah. 100%.
You know what I mean? Like we would have taken the opportunity and we would have pushed for more and more and more and more. And now we're smart enough to know we're going to move at our pace, right? We're going to move at a pace that's profitable to us, you know, and a pace that we're comfortable with to make sure that the product is the right product at the end of the day.
Yeah.
On this list then, would this not the right team, which is only at 14%, where would that be?
That would be, you could interchange one or two.
How far?
Yeah,
how far would you bump it up?
I would put it right underneath. I mean, I would literally say, I agree that, you know, cash flow is number one, but just like this is 38% for cash flow and 35% for no market need, it would be 35% for not the right team.
Yeah. So let me simplify. I want to simplify the team aspect for everybody. Okay. It doesn't matter what sport you like, basketball, baseball, hockey, whatever you like. You're building a team, right? So basketball, you want to put the best players on the floor. You may be, because this is like a perspective most people will understand because, you know, they may not know business, but they understand sports, right? You want to put the best product on the floor as you possibly can. Point guard, shooting guard, center, power forward, you know, hockey, right winger, left winger, center. You want to have depth. You want your roster to be deep with talent. You want your starting five to be competitive and the best starting five possible. If you took the top, let's just say in your organization, your top five, you know, leaders in your organization, and you put them on that court, would they be the best players on the court?
It's not.
Or are you filling a position?
And not only that, but are they the best players on the court? But are they in the right position on the court?
Right.
Because five Michael Jordans doesn't beat an all-star team.
100%.
You know what I mean? Doesn't beat it because you've got to have people in their right, as Nate says, genius zone playing, right? Like you have to have that.
And you're the coach.
You're the coach.
So you're putting people in those positions. And, you know, it's a good exercise because it really makes you think about, you know, I got, you know, Joe at, you know, let's use sports at point guard. He's not really that good at being a point guard, but, you know, I need somebody there. So there's your liability. Now you have to fix that. So now this is when you talk about, you know, the weaknesses in your leadership, that's how you find them, right? And me today, Sam, you know, 5.0, my leadership is all stars. Like they are like cream of the crop, and that's who I want. And I don't care what it costs me, and I don't care what, you know, if I can do it, I can do it because I know that is the pillars of your business is your leadership, right? You know, and then that'll trickle down to your mid-level management and your ground level employees because they'll understand what it takes because you have the right leadership. So I agree. Before even, the more I think about it, before even capital, it's people because you don't have the right people.
Yeah,
you need capital.
Yeah,
to acquire the people.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But I think if you have the wrong people, you're gonna need capital regardless. So whether they're the right or wrong ones,
capital's a fuel.
Yeah,
I mean, at the end of the day,
it's your business plan.
It's a fuel.
It's one dot. It's like your first step. Do you have the right people working for you? Do you have the right leadership? Okay, that's like building block. You know what I mean? To me, or I mean, you can argue. I mean, like I said, I think if you could have two number ones here very easily, right? But
Well, the very first thing that Jobs did when he took Apple back over, just when it was 90 days from insolvency, was asked his CFO, "We need cash. We need it now," and get everybody off the board of directors who isn't part of this, doesn't fit. We'll leave a couple, replace those, and I'm going office to office, room to room, and handpicking our A players and our stars and all stars. I mean, literally,
Did the same thing.
it's literally the same thing. Do you remember when you were in grade school or high school and we got picked for whatever it was, kickball or basketball and all that? Did you guys get picked pretty early on?
Always.
I mean,
always.
I was 6'3", 200 pounds.
Right. That's what I was thinking.
So
He hasn't grown since.
I haven't grown since the 6th grade. So yeah, I was always picked really early with stuff like that. I think mostly because they were scared if they didn't pick me, like I was going to like
Right.
stuff them in a locker or something. Right.
Yeah. And I was always competitive.
Yeah.
You know, I was always an athlete and always, you know, basketball, hockey, you know, I was always competitive.
Right. Same. And I wasn't the tallest guy, so I wasn't ever first, but I was like, you know, second or third. Like I knew I wasn't.
Yeah.
Not that I'm sorry if you were the last one.
sorry.
You're probably running, you know,
probably
major
better off
companies
now,
right now,
right,
and
yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
you're probably a billionaire.
You've been feeding off that fuel for years.
Right.
They're working for you now.
Yeah, right.
The guy that got
I'm
picked
gonna
first is
employ
working for you.
and you're gonna do
Yeah.
dishes.
Yeah.
No, it's but to that point, right? I mean, what was the motivator for someone picking you?
They wanted to win.
Want to win.
Want to win.
Same thing with the coach. Same
Want
thing
to
with the
win.
team.
Absolutely. You know, you want to win. And you've got to, you know, and listen, finding it that's another thing. Just like capital, you never stop looking for people, because the moment you stop is when all of a sudden you need people. You know what I mean? And so
Yeah, we're hiring recruiters and we just hired another one. I mean, it's all about headcount. Like I remember when we used to have to like, oh, we need make more sales, and we're like, no, we can make as many sales as we want as long as we
People.
have as many.
it's a different world, you know? But you know, I want to kind of just make a mention to, you know, cause I'm sure there's a lot of people out there listening right now that are entrepreneurs, but they don't have a team, right? They're running the show by themselves.
Solo
Solo
what do they call it?
opportunities.
Solopreneur.
Solopreneurship. And I think, right, like you have to have the skill set, right? And so I think that the individual entrepreneur that's out there, I think more than anybody else really needs to find that mentor, right? That person or that group of people that can shine a light on their everybody's got strengths and weaknesses, right? And you got to have somebody who's honest enough with you to say, hey man, you're super strong in these areas here are your opportunities. You need to focus on these and get yourself better, right? And I think that now in this day and age compared to 30 years ago, there are so many different avenues and tools that are out there. There's really no excuse, right? Yeah. There's no excuse to not better yourself consistently moving forward.
Yeah. And that's a great point. And that person also they have external teams. They have their suppliers. They have their brand advocates. They have their social groups. They have their networks. They have their customer, of course. You know, they have all of these people who they can view as on their team, right? Who do I select? And that's another thing about even when you're a solopreneur. Who do I select as my customer? You know, who is the best fit for my offering, right? Who is the best fit for, my outsourcing, right? My accounting team and my legal team and all the different pieces who I have to help me support my business.
You know, I would say, you know, the advice I would give is good advice, Trav. Something else is find someone who's done something, who's actually ran a business. There's just a lot of fluff out there with this industry as far as coaching and mentoring. You know,
that's like the new thing, right?
It's like the newest thing. It's like, you know, ask that mentor, you know, what have you accomplished, you know, to want me to have you as a mentor, right? It's just,
well, let's ask that.
Yeah.
For you to have a mentor, what must they possess? For someone listening that says, okay, what should I look for in a mentor?
Have a vested interest in my success. A genuine vested interest in my success.
But I also think somebody who's been there, done that, got the t-shirt for whatever it is that you're doing.
Well,
right?
yeah, to be more specific, I know that you're, but like I would ask you like, okay, you know, I know where I'm at, right? we've never stopped growing. I'm not content. I'm sure even if I become a billionaire one day, I won't be content with, I will continue to go forward. You know, what have you accomplished
Sorry.
Yeah.
If.
When? Yeah.
No self-limiting beliefs at this table.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. You know, what have you accomplished? You know, what are your struggles? What are your failures? Have you ever not made payroll? Have you struggled to make payroll? What's your story? What's your struggles? You know,
well, what if they say, well, I've observed and I've read about them and I have a advanced degree in this area.
Next. Degrees don't mean
right.
to me.
What's the old adage? Those who can't do teach.
Yeah.
Yes,
right?
which is not always true, but especially if you're adjunct. Just a shout out to every part-time professor who actually comes from
I'm gonna get
practitioner.
I'm going to get a call from my mom on that one.
So if I came to you, if I came to you and I said, hey, you asked me that question. I said, look, I've took a business from $500,000 a year to a $10 million a year business with a growth trajectory of 40%. And I manage, our organization employs 200 plus people.
They've got
someone
your
you
attention.
Want to talk to?
They've got your attention.
Yeah.
Do you want to be my mentor?
I am. We mentor each other.
That's true. We do.
We do. So my point, that it's not to put that out there, right? It's just my point to make a point. Right. If you can't tell me you've done something, right, besides make a cool LinkedIn profile and some nice Insta posts and, some hot links to, a blog that you're interacting with people with, like let's see the resume.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be, you don't have to have a $10 million, $20 a year, but show me big things. Show me you've had to create something, right? How that process worked, right? And how you got there, right? And that's enough to get me like, man, maybe this guy can definitely help me. Cause that's my number one priority is how can you help me become better?
Right? You bring up something that's really interesting to me. As we have, the three of us have kind of delved into the coaching world, right? I've been doing consulting for years, but diving into the coaching world, my biggest struggle that I have is, putting myself out there, like on my social media. You know what I mean? Like
it's not your comfort zone.
Not my comfort zone, right? To like, I don't want to call it bragging, but just self-promotion. Thank you. Self-promotion is so challenging for me because it feels fake to me, not to anybody else, right? When everybody else does it, it doesn't seem fake. But when I do it, I feel like I don't know. There's something in it, right? Like, and it's just, and so, if somebody's looking like at me as their coach, I'm the last person that you're going to look at my social media accounts, or you're going to find me like constantly blasting stuff out, because I think I have my profile picture on Facebook is probably 5-6 years old. I still had brown hair. You know what I mean?
I remember.
There's no gray hair. I've never been comfortable with like that self-promotion thing. And I think, if you're out there looking for a coach, don't
just base it off.
Don't base it off the self-promotion, right? Because you've got to make sure there's actual content in there. And I'm not taking away from people who are good at that, right? Because I think that is an amazing tool to drive awareness for yourself. But I'm sure there are people out there like me who would be skilled in that area, but just aren't comfortable in the self-promotion. Right?
I get it. No, 100%. I think two things. If I was coaching you, I would say get comfortable, because I feel like you have a lot of value. And I think there's a way to do it without you feeling that way, right? I think you can pull it off.
Oh, he had to talk with me 5 years ago.
So,
because we're both let me just stop you right there, because we're both, if you haven't taken the predictive index, I don't make any money off of this, but it's definitely a great tool for analyzing your drives. It's a survey. But I think you're a persuader.
I'm a persuader.
Persuader is yours, and they're just different titles, but yours and Travis and I share the same PI, which is altruist. Altruists by design want to have the spotlight on someone else, right? Because that's our focus is how can we help someone else? Don't look at me.
Right.
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 However, it's as one of our people in our mastermind group said, it's not social media, it's business media, right? It's a matter of saying, here is the offering based on this set of expertise. Go ahead. I want to pause there. I hope I didn't break up your train of thought.
No, because you said the same thing to me 6 years ago, maybe. You had, I sort of got I think one time I sent Nate a messenger message and he didn't respond for like 3 weeks.
Sam
and
was
then
my
responded.
social media. He was my social media for years.
Yeah.
He'd say, hey, I know you're not on social media. Here's some news for you.
I'm a big proficient of social media, especially for these type of, things we do, right? Coaching, mentoring. Yeah, it's a great tool for many things, right? And Nate was a late adapter to it. I remember I'm like, he didn't have a Facebook. He definitely didn't have a LinkedIn. And I would tell him all the time, I'd be like, man, just like yourself, you have a ton of value, but it's like, no one's going to ever hear about it, on your website or your, right. I don't know how you back then, or you got it out to people, but eventually it clicked. And he went from like never posting anything to Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, 3 posts a day. And it was good, right? Because I think that's great, right? Because I think as an entrepreneur, we have to use the tools that are given to us. That's an amazing tool. And that's how people communicate now. Yep. That's how people don't go to, by the way, people don't go to your websites anymore. That's all just there to just know you're out on the web, right? People go to your socials. They go to your LinkedIn. They go to your Instagram to size you up, right? Now, if you go there and, cars and, flexing all the time, interests you, and somebody, maybe it's a different guy that you're going to go look at. But, you can show value. You can show, great value on social media, and doesn't have to be cheap and doesn't have to be minimized by you putting it out there, right? But yeah, you were like, Nate was the absolute, like I could not believe. I'm like, dude.
Just like, so people knew I was alive.
Yeah, literally. Yeah.
I know you. Right. I am you.
Right, I know, right?
It's funny. Yeah.
Still here.
I think Travis still maybe posts. I don't know.
I don't even know what I post. I'm on
Instagram
social
a lot
media
more
all the time. You know what I mean? But I'm so I don't want to say voyeuristic in a perverted way, right? But I like seeing what other people are doing. You know what I mean? And I like reading different articles and stuff like that. So it's so hard for me to do that, right? For myself. And it's so funny because my wife, she'll be like, oh, you're doing, and I was like, I got podcasting today. She's like, you had the interview yesterday and the podcasting today. She's like, you just love it. And I'm like, I do, but not for the reasons that you're thinking. She's like, you just love to hear yourself talk. I'm like, I actually don't like to hear myself talk. You know what I mean? But yeah, that's a personal struggle. And so just kind of bringing it full circle, it's just, if you're out there looking, don't base it off of social media only. Have a conversation with somebody. You know what I mean?
Yeah, words between two human beings in the same room.
Human beings, you know what I mean?
In the same room.
Looking somebody in the eye, you know what I mean? Having coffee. That conversation, a coffee. And I always give people the option. I'm like, coffee, dinner, drinks, right? I don't care which one you choose. You know what I mean? There's different levels of intimacy, right? And length of time based on which one you choose. But however you want it, right? Some people just want to grab a coffee because that's probably 20 minutes, right?
That's what I prefer.
Other people want to grab dinner, which is an hour plus, and some people want to have a quick drink. You know what I mean? Where it's like, hey, it's going to be 15 minutes, just to say hi. And I'm fine with either of them, any of them.
And your mentor can be different mentors in different areas. You don't have to have. I consider my philosophy is have 3 mentors in different areas of your sphere of life, whether it could be in business, it could be in self-care, and it could be in family or whatever. And then be a mentor. Have 3, be 1. And I remember years ago when I was trying to get faster cycling because I was really starting to get into triathlon. And so every Monday we would do this cycling, group cycling. And there was a group of 4 of us guys. And then there was a larger group of guys who were so fast. And every time we would ride, they would just right by us. I'm like, man, those dudes are fast. So, and then we'd all congregate in an area. And I went up to a guy after one of the cycling routes. And I said, man, I mean, we're doing like 18, 19 with the wind. You're doing like 24, 26 miles an hour. How did you get so fast, right? And he began to mentor me. And what, certainly aspects of the bike and nutrition and all of those things. But there's one thing he said that stuck with me to this day. And he said, you can get all that stuff. You can make it, it's fantastic. But there's one thing that you cannot just buy. And he said, it's time in the saddle.
Mm-hmm.
And I've never forgotten those words because they are universally applicable.
Mm-hmm.
It's time in the saddle. Number one, I wouldn't have got that without some mentorship. Number two, it helps me to frame this whole list, right? No matter how you go in, just know that time in the saddle is really going to be the way you will overcome.
Amen.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. So even if you're in a place right now where you're out of money, your team's struggling, you find out, oh crud, the market doesn't like me at all, right? Stay in the saddle.
Mm-hmm.
Stay in the saddle. Keep pedaling, right? Keep pedaling. Keep pedaling. It might look different when you get to the next stop.
Mm-hmm.
It might even not even be this business that you're in. We can all say that, right?
Absolutely.
We're all in different places in a lot of ways than we were when we first got in that saddle.
Yeah.
But that's okay because we're on a journey.
That's right.
That's right. It never stops.
Indeed, that is where character is built. Thank you, Sam, for finishing us strong on this second part of this 3-part series on why startups fail. Next week, we're going to finish with people and understanding how they affect our trajectory as entrepreneurs. Stick around, listen to the very next one, and I can't wait to be with you again. I'm Dr. Nate Salah, and this is A Call to Leadership.